All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, perhaps the most frustrating part of the entire war in Ukraine to me is how much it has scrambled the minds of American voters and American foreign policy elites to our priorities. Walking around Washington today, you would think that the year is 1961, that our principal adversary is Russia, that the booming center of the world is Central Europe, which is both economically dynamic, prospering, and a sure bet to pay major economic dividends for our relationship in the years to come. Basically, none of that is true anymore. You can think that Ukraine is important for your own reasons if you want, but here's the truth. Whether Kyiv remains under Ukrainian hands or Russian hands has zero impact on our way of life. Ukraine in 2019 was our 67th largest trading partner. Russia was our 26th. This isn't even to say that we shouldn't help Ukraine. It is simply a truth, though, that it doesn't really matter that much to us. Same with Russia. It is only important because of its nuclear weapon status and oil reserves. And as we have all found out, we can effectively blockade the entire country and it will not change anything about the way that we do business here. So why are we spending some 90% of our foreign policy thinking and obsession over Ukraine and Russia? The answer is two-part. One is we share a long cultural heritage with Europe. Many Americans are of European descent. Of course, our histories are long intertwined, going back to our founding. We fought side by side in two great wars, and the United States saved the entire continent from Hitlerism and Soviet communism. Two, though, is frankly a Russian obsession infecting the entire American foreign policy elite. It goes back to the Cold War, had gasoline poured on the fire by Russiagate post-Trump. Those two conditions have created the perfect storm. All the dreams of the old Cold War hawks are being fulfilled. Americans are being gaslit into thinking our most important global relationship is with the European continent. From NATO to the EU to the bilateral meetings that our President Biden spends all of his time on, it is Europe, Europe, Europe. And yet, by almost every available metric, Europe has never mattered less to the United States. Note at the beginning of this monologue, I said Ukraine or Russia does not impact us. It does impact Europe, though. It's their land. They have long shared bad blood, and frankly, if it's a problem, it's really only a problem for them. And yet, as I've covered here ad nauseum, they don't pay for it. We pay the vast majority of expenses of the Ukrainian military, that we remain the main diplomatic interlocutor, even though it matters the least to us. The trend is only going in the wrong direction. NATO is expanding, meaning our obligation to defend even more European territory is somehow extending. And how is the continent that we are apparently wasting so much time and money protecting even doing? Europeans are poorer than ever before, and they are only getting even more so. As the Wall Street Journal writes, quote, Europe's current predicament has been long in the making. An aging population with a preference for free time and job security over earnings has ushered in years of lackluster economic and productivity growth. Then came a 1-2 punch of the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's protracted war in Ukraine. It's actually very simple. They have huge welfare states. They don't make very many goods. They also don't innovate very much. Most of their energy also came from Russia. Zoom out and it's clear. The Eurozone economy grew 6% over the last 15 years. The United States has grown by 82%. Now look, America's got a lot of problems, but ours mostly boils down to proper distribution of our riches rather than being actually poor in the aggregate. As the Journal so aptly puts it, quote, if the current trend continues by 2035, the gap between economic output per capita in the US and EU will be as large as that between Japan and Ecuador today. I will take the action on that, considering the state of politics on the continent. Meanwhile, let's check in on the rest of the world. You couldn't see a more different picture. A new demographic analysis shows that by 2050, people above the age of 65 and older will make up 40% of the entire European population. For context, as Time notes, this is twice the current old population of Florida. It effectively will become a retirement colony, as will the major countries in East Asia, including China, Japan, and South Korea. So who is actually growing? Now, as the chart shows, by 2050, the countries with the largest working age shares of population will be South Africa, Myanmar, India, Bangladesh, the Philippines, Pakistan, Kenya, Indonesia, Egypt, and Ethiopia. So basically, South Africa, North Africa, Southeast Asia, and India. How much time do we spend thinking about our bilateral relationships with these countries? The importance that they have to the current and the future U.S. economy and our way of life. Already it is clear. The top 10 trading partners of the United States in 2022 were as follows: Canada, Mexico, China, Japan, Germany, South Korea, the UK, Taiwan, India, and Vietnam. Already, it means 6 out of the top 10 trading partners that the US has are in Asia. Only 2 are in Europe. Compared to the rest of the world, this is already the case. Asia is 45% of global GDP, double the measly GDP of Europe, and by 2030, the current projection shows that Asia will become a full 51% of global GDP, Europe shrinking down to 18%. People think I have something personal against Europe. They would be right if we were just talking about food and coffee. In reality, I have a problem with people who cannot do math. You can only pursue existential risk and effort when that risk is existential to you. If you think of it like business, you would never allocate so much time, effort, and money towards a dying share of your business. You would look clearly at trends, and you would allocate resources both for reality, today, and for the future. If we do not change course soon, our future is obvious. We will end up like Europe, irrelevant to the affairs of the world, arrogant, riding our cultural coattails from the past, and worst of all, vulnerable to the wants of whomever controls Asia. And, I was just thinking about it, Crystal, in terms of...
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.